showroom. So what I'll do now is I'll just show you what I've done in terms of bringing it all down and what the new room looks like. So I'll do that. Here's the two baseboards that came down from upstairs, slightly different layout because the room's slightly smaller. The intention is that little drawing station will be where the little Jinty with the two Mark 1 carriages is at the moment, so down there. Coming around slightly shorter pulling area, so there'll be a where the drill is will be that will turn around from there and then come straight into the station area. It's still my intention to have the coal yard to the right as we're now looking at it. Running along the back there will be a short scenic area, then it will come round, and there's no baseboards here at the moment, but the intention is over this side of the room is where I will have Moorbank Junction and Trafford Yard, which will then run back round where the door, where I'm currently stood next to the door, and then join on to the other baseboard. I've still yet to work out exactly in my head how that's going to look like. I have some ideas, but whether my skills will be up to what I hope to be able to do, I don't know. So as you can see, there's still some stuff that I do need to move out from this room, and I will be doing that over the next few days or couple of weeks. I'll also be building the remainder of the baseboards. But in the meantime, while I'm waiting for the stuff to turn up to start building the baseboards, I'm going to carry on building the platforms for the station. I've now measured the length of the platform, so I know roughly how long those are going to be. Well, here we are back at the workbench, finishing off the platform. So I've cut out all the platform edges as per the instructions. One of the things I've noticed is I probably need to print some more of this off, because on the original, when you just print off the sheets that it suggests you do, you end up with only two of the sloping platform edges like that. So in effect, the one side, and what I actually need is two sides. So I will print off another set of these and do those. The other bit I've done is I've printed off the structural formers, which are these bits here, and I've cut those out. What I did do is I wrote on the back that just S-former, just so that if I lay these down, there's lots of offshoots of card that are lying around. I know that these are actually something that I'm planning to use rather than just an offshoot. What I need to do now is to start connecting these together based on the size of the platform that I need, and using those to join the two bits together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go across to where the model is and where the platform is going to be, because I've got a bit more room there to lay it out and start gluing it together. So that's what I plan to do now. Well, I finally moved everything down into this other room. Taken me a little while to get set up, and I have cracked on with it in between. So we've got two of the baseboards now back in place, and I've started laying the track. So I'll just show you what the layout in this room looks like and how far I've got with it so far. So this is where I've got to so far. The two boards are fitted slightly differently. There's not quite so much room in this particular location where the new layout's going to be. I think I've said that before. So there's one of the boards there that runs round, and then just here is the second of the boards. They've all been connected up, and the wire's now running on one of the bus wires. The bus wire for the track is fitted and running back underneath. and the two pieces of track there, the two straights, is where little drawing station is going to be. Both those two bits of track have been wired up to the bus wire and checked using the voltmeter, as I showed you earlier, either in one of the previous videos or earlier in this video, I can't remember which now, and I know that there are good connections running through there. You may notice at the back the little Jinty engine there is stripped down. I have been servicing it. As I said, I have been servicing the little Jinty engine. I'll just see if I can zoom in, and I will. So there he is there, been stripped down. Just needs reassembling. It's working a little bit better than it was previously in terms of running, although it's still a little bit jolty, and I'm not sure whether actually I bought these two, the set off eBay. It was second hand at the time, run perfectly when I got it, so I've got no complaints with the seller, but it may be just that it needs the engine replaced, and I am a bit surprised that you can't replace the brushes on these engines as you could do with the older Hornby engines. It would be much easier if you could strip the engine right down, give it a good clean, and then reassemble it, but apparently that's not possible. So I may have to get a new engine for the Jinty and the same for the Class 08. I'm going to reassemble the Jinty engine now and give the Class 08, which is a bit further along, there he is just there, a bit of a service as well, see if I can get that one running a little bit better. So I'll nip through to the workbench and we'll start doing that. Here we are at the workbench. What I thought I'd do before I strip down and start servicing this Class 08 shunter was just compare how the two strip down and look with the old Hornby Class 08 that I've had for some considerable time. You may remember this in a very early video, I think video 1 even, I showed this, and then in video 2 I think I stripped this down and serviced it. So if you want to have a look at how I service this particular locomotive, then I'll put a link on the screen now to that video so you can see how I did it. But this one, so in terms of stripping this one down, there was a single screw at the back just here that needed removing. I will remove that, although actually where this has got damaged there's no requirement to it. The chassis got broken and I will have to repair that, but I'm going to use this as a bit of a practice model in terms of stripping it down and doing some changes to it. I've actually got a little box here that came free with Model Railway magazine that I'll put all the parts in. So that screw comes out and then it just lifts off, and at the front there are two lugs at the front that hold it in place. So relatively simple, just a screw to remove that. I'll put that to one side, and then I'll show you how the new Class 08 model is stripped down. This is one that came with the set, so it's not a highly detailed model, but it did for me for now. So in terms of removing this one, what I didn't do on this Class 8 was to remove these, but I will remove the two ends here, so the two couplers from it, just so I don't damage them, and they're removed just by two held in place just by two screws. You don't have to remove them, but I have done previously just to make sure that I don't damage them when I'm working on the main bulk of it. And once again I will put those into there so I don't lose them. That's that one removed. As I say, it's just two little screws, relatively easy to remove them, and I suppose the time it takes to remove them saves me damaging them. So there's that one out. Once again, I'll put the screw in now. Pull that up. And then to remove this, there is no screw. It's merely a small lug here that holds the front in place, and then there are two small lugs at the back that fit into some recesses. So once I've removed that, the top should just lift off. I've not actually removed this one before. I did the little Jinty engine, which was very similar to this in terms of how you do it. So just push that in and then see if I can remove it. Older model with the screw, so as it was held in place by a screw, it was slightly easier to get the base off. I'm sure there's probably a simpler way of doing this, but I will persevere. Oh, I have managed to do it. Well, I did manage to do it. It was a lot more difficult than the Jinty, I must admit. Probably not been out for some considerable time, and it's probably not giving enough. It does look as if perhaps you should be pushing it up from the bottom. No, definitely in from there. Anyway, that's how it comes off. So there's the two lugs at the back. Once you have unclipped the bit at the front, it does come off relatively easy, but it wasn't quite as easy as the Jinty did, and definitely not as easy as the old Hornby version, which was one screw and then it slipped straight off. I suppose it saves having a big screw in the back or in the front. But in terms of servicing, it made life slightly more difficult. I'll just move the light round a little bit, and then we'll compare the two chassis. So here are the two chassis and engine elements of the two locos. On this side here, this is the old Class 08 Hornby from about 1970, the mid-1970s, and this is more up-to-date version PCC chassis of the Class 08, the box, the set that I got. So you can see the main difference here. So engine on this one is larger, and there you can see the brushes that I replaced in the previous one. Easier to get to the gear mechanism in terms of servicing the gear mechanism. Now I think I could actually lift the engine off and get down to the gear mechanism in this one as well. I'm not going to do that this time. All I'm going to do is just clean the wheels, now I've got it out, and just oil the gear or cog at the bottom here, and then allow it to run through. The oil that I'm going to be using is the same oil as I used on this one when I was servicing this one. While I've got it off, I might even put a little drop of oil on there. It's it's sewing machine oil, so which I think is okay to use on the electrics around here. It won't damage any of the electrics or any of the metal parts. Unlike, as I understand, 3-in-1, the spray WD-40 type oil would do. So I shall crack on. Just going to show you how I clean the wheels and the oil that I'm using now. I'll just get this other chassis out of the way. So this is what I'm going to use to clean the wheels and to give the surface areas the contacts a clean with. It's IA or isopropanol alcohol, 99% pure. So that's what I'm going to use, and I'm just going to pour a tiny little bit into this container here. It won't take very much, probably that's too much. I'll have to try and get some of that back into the bottle. Put the lid back on because it does evaporate relatively quickly. And then just using the cotton bud, I will give the wheels a good rub over It should remove anything that's around it. That's those done. You'll notice that the middle two wheels aren't pickups, so there's no electrical pickup from those two wheels. They've actually got a small rubber band around them to aid grip, I'm assuming. So I will just need to do these. Still relatively clean. The other area, I don't know if you can see this just here, but there are the two connections, pickups there and there, and likewise on the other side. There and there. In fact, it does look, unlike the little Jinty engine, like it only picks up from one set of wheels. Although it may well be, there is a connector at the back of there. I will just give those a quick once over as well. See if I can get in there and give them a clean. That looks as if that one might well have gone through a little bit, so might be one of the reasons why it's not functioning. Again, give them a try. Still not too bad. Off it, put that to one side. Wheels now look nice and shiny. I thought I'd just mention that that's where the DCC card is, just in there. I'm assuming it would just pull out, I'm not going to, but I'm assuming it just pulls out of there if you wanted to replace that. There, what I need to do now is just give it a very light oil. I'm just going to put a little tiny drop of oil in the little bearing there where the engine is, and then I'm just going to put some oil on there. To put the oil on, you don't need to put very much on, so I'm just going to use the end of a cocktail stick. I might even just use a little bit of the solder there, just as sewing machine oil. Making sure I've got the right container. I'm just going to put a tiny drop of oil in there. As I say, it doesn't take very much at all to do this. A tiny little bit on there. And we're just trying to get it in between the I'll go and just run that as it is for a second, just to see how it's doing. So I'm just going to go in next door, back to the track, and just run that up and down for a little while, just to see if it's doing it. The body, I'm just going to give that a rinse in some soapy water just to give it a freshen up. So I'll meet you back at the track. So here we are back over at the two bits of track you saw earlier. This is the chassis of the Class 08 that we were just servicing. What I'm going to do now is just run him backwards and forwards. I've got him set up, and we'll see how well he goes. Just see if I can get it up to a bit of speed, and we'll just run him backwards and forwards. Whether it's running any better, I'm not really sure. It looks a little bit better. fact, that does appear to be running a lot smoother than it was, so as the oil was coming in, it seems to be freeing it up a little bit. I probably could have done with putting a little bit of oil on the wheels as well. So I think I will now. I'll do that, it just stored there a little bit. Well, there we are. What I shall do though is I'm going to just quickly put some oil on the wheel bearings, and then I'll come back and we'll just have a quick look at how the changes to the layout are going to be from where it was. So here's the track diagram of Little Drawling Station here that you'll remember from an earlier video. The two tracks we were looking at earlier are the two main tracks that run parallel to the station, Little Drawling Station. A fair amount of this I had laid upstairs in the previous location for this, and I had to lift it up, although you may remember that I was having difficulty with the points. Because of the restriction in space down here, the much more tighter space, I'm going to have to, the two areas here are now going to form part of a turn part of a turn. So I'm using curved turnouts, curved points here on the run in. I'll show you that in a second. And then almost immediately we're going to go into the line that runs in here. So this line here I'm going to get rid of just because it would look stupid with the amount of space. So that line's going to go. So what will happen is that it will turn here, immediately turn out to the line that runs down into the goods area here, the goods shed. And then the second one will continue run around here into the coal yard area, so where I'm going to put the coal, and there'll also be I'm going to move the cattle area up to there as well, and then alongside here this will then move back down this area here, and in fact here there will be a small engine shed just here. So that's going to be the plan in terms of what I'm intending it to look a little bit like. So this is one of the stations on the line that I'm sort of, I wouldn't say copying, but mirroring almost. Of course this will have two lines, so that would be what the station will look like in the end. I'm not sure whether I'm going to leave the signal box this end, I think, rather than here. And there's the engine shed. That engine shed will be a bit further across, and of course there'll be a yard running behind it. So that's what that will look like. I'll just show you now where that will be in terms of on the current layout. If I pan out, so there you can see the two tracks that run round. You can probably see in this that I have managed to do the length of the platform, so you can see the length of the platform here. This is what I was working on earlier, now all joined up. So the length of the platform's running along there. That will take the Jinty or the Class 08 plus 2 carriages, and then it will then run up to there, and on that area there is where the turn will be. I've managed to get a couple of long turnouts that you can see there. I've just moved one into shot. I'll just see if I can get on to a little bit better, and I'll show you something in just a second. So there he is. So that turnout there, I'll just raise him up a little bit. So that turnout there will be at the top corner. Something like that there. There will then be a turnout, probably something like that there, that will follow it round, and then it will come round and join there, with that one there just coming straight round here to join onto there, and then that will then of course come round the back there. just as I said, I was going to show you something. So when I ordered this, I was trying to get this area here done first. So I ordered the points, a large radius curve right hand point that you can see there. And when it turned up, it was the opposite way round, so it was this one here that turned up. And initially I thought, oh, I've ordered the wrong one, so I went back online and reordered it. But having looked at it, I'll just lay these next to each other. And I'm not sure if you can see this, I'll just zoom in again. So, that one there, which is the turning the wrong way, is a Pico SL E86, the electronic points, and the one that's turning the correct way, that's the one I thought I'd ordered incorrectly and ordered the wrong side, and the one that is correct is a Pico SL E86. So actually, what looks as if it's happened, and I'll move them over a bit closer so you can see this. So there they both are, two completely different points, one left hand and one right hand, but if you look at the wrappers, they're identical, and they both say that they are right hand curved point, a right hand curved point, and quite clearly they're not. So rather than me ordering the wrong one, I think someone's put one of them into the wrong packaging. However, I will need this one, the one you can see at the moment, which is actually a left-hand curve point for the other end of the track, so where the little drawing station leaves and joins back into a single line. So, well, as I say, that's just about all we've got time for in this video. So I'm going to carry on over Christmas and see how much more of the track laying I can get. My intention hopefully will be over the next coming few days, couple of weeks, is to get the top end of the track done, the track plan done, so this end up here completed, so that I can actually get the points running from up there, and then I can see if I can get the back end of the station done, and I'll also try and complete the whole length of the platform. So what I will do now is I'll get the Jinty back on and get her running up and down the two bits of track that I've got, and I'll leave you with her running.